Howdy there neighbors, Ian with Etrailer here. Today we're going to be looking at our CURT Class 3 hitch on our 2018 Volvo XC60. Let's get into a couple features and then that install. As for the visual appeal of this hitch, I really like this one. It looks great considering it is going to be out here in the open the entire time. We've got some stealth hitch options and some hideaway options that are going to make it to where the shank is removable, but you're going to lose some of that towing capability. With this particular hitch, we're looking at 6,000 pounds on the towing, 900 on the tongue weight. Of course, you're going to want to look at your manufacturer specs and your owner's manual to see which of the two is going to be the lower numbers and then go with that lower number. But as I said, absolutely looks great on the back of this vehicle, even with it sticking out. Couple measurements to factor in. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the edge of the bumper here, we're looking just below 3 inches. So that's going to give you an idea of the clearance for any accessory or trailer you might be putting on there to that rear of the bumper. If you've got any folding options, kind of just keeping anything from hitting the back of the vehicle. And then from the ground to the top of the receiver hole, we are looking just under 13 inches. And so that's going to give you your clearance. That way, if you've got an extended accessory, you'll know how far from the ground you're going to be sitting. And then this is going to take just a normal 5/8 hitch pin here, not included with the kit, so please do check out our website for any of our great pin options, including those locking options. And the safety chain loops on this one are featured on the bottom. I will say the loops themselves are a little thick, so it could make it difficult to get certain types of clamps on there if you've got bigger hooks. And then it will accept the S-type binders as well. And I did want to talk about the install on this one. It is a little bit involved just because we're going to be taking off the rear fascia completely and then trimming that down. So if that doesn't seem like something after watching the video that you'd want to deal with, go ahead and check out our dealer locator. We'll get you a trained professional that can help get that hitch put on for you. But all those DI wires, just hang in there with me. We'll walk through that whole process and let's go ahead and get that hitch on. And importantly, before we get going on the installation, since we're removing our fascia here, I've got it all taped up along the edges that are going to be coming off just in case we run into any scraping. We wouldn't want to damage the paint. We're going to come under at the rear driver wheel well or passenger because we're going to be repeating the same process on each side. And we're going to remove these T25 screws that hold in the fender liner. And then there are 6 screws altogether we're going to remove. We're going to push that fender liner back out of the way to access one last T25 that holds the fascia on here, and we will remove that one as well. Then underneath the vehicle, we're going to have another set of T25s here. There'll be 2 on each side, so we'll remove all 4 of those. Now we're going to open up the rear hatch and grab these 2 little bump stops. Those will just twist, and then you can give those a pull out, and we'll set those aside. And then above the bump stops, you're going to find this little plastic tab. You can just come from the bottom of that and pop that loose. Now to remove the fascia, there is a lip on this inside of the fender well that sits against a plastic bracket. So we'll want to kind of pull that down and away from that, and that'll start our corner here, which you can then just kind of get your fingers behind and start working your way up. You may have to get a trim panel tool and you can kind of pry between and disconnect as you're going along, and you'll definitely want to do that here towards the tail lights. And then that should pop loose. Now you will need a second pair of hands. I got Ryan here helping me today, and we're just going to finish this last edge that's snapped in. And then there's going to be a harness connector here for the rear sensors that we'll need to disconnect. Then we'll take a 15mm socket. We're going to break all these loose by hand. I like to do that just because I've seen in the past breaking them away with power tools sometimes can take that welded stud with it, and we want to avoid that. So get all those broke loose. And there's going to be 3 on each end, so 6 in total to remove the bumper beam. And with those 6 removed, we will be able to pull off the bumper beam. Then you may find you have to pry a little bit just to get that loose away from those studs. Now there is a 4th hole we're going to be utilizing that will take the provided hardware and then this washer as well. I just want to make sure this is going to run through here. So what I've done is just taken a hole brush, gotten that cleaned out, and then we're going to run this down by hand just to make sure it goes all the way down to where we need it to. Now we'll take the hitch and just get that lined up with the studs that are on the vehicle. Now the instructions do talk about trimming this heat shield down below, and we'll still have to trim the fascia, but I think with this in place, we don't really need to be trimming this back any further than it already is. We've got a couple little points of contact, but once the hardware's all on and everything's set and flush, that should just correct itself. Now we're going to take the old hardware, at least for the 3 studs, and we'll replace those back on and run them down. So the added hardware that we've got, we're going to make sure that conical tooth washer, of course, again, is down. That is a 17mm head. We're going to tighten that one to the same torque. We're doing all of these, and you'll find that torque spec in your instruction manual. So there's going to be measurements to trim the fascia in the instruction manual, and they're pretty spot on, but I like to double check just by mocking up the fascia. Just kind of got it set in place, and you can see where the edges of our hitch here are hitting the fascia, so it's giving me a rough estimate of what we need to cut out. Of course, we'll factor in that it does widen out at the welds just a hair at the very top of the shank here. So I've just got that marked out. I'll just go ahead and take our multi-tool here and get that cut. And then to clean those edges up, you can either come back with a file or just a razor and trim all that up. With that nice clean cut all made, we're going to go ahead and throw the fascia back up and just push that back into place, making sure all of our tabs line up and we're behind where we're supposed to be. Wanted to mention down in this corner where we had that T25 at the very top, there's going to be a lip that sits in between the plastic retainer for the bottom of the fascia and the top of the body frame here. So this tab will need to go in between both of those for it to lock back into place properly. Then we'll replace that T25, all the hardware in the fender liner, and we'll work on getting the tabs at the bottom line back up. And that's going to do for our look at an installation of our CURT Class 3 hitch on our 2018 Volvo XC60. My name's Ian with Etrailer. Thanks for watching.